Hello and welcome to JoyRide with your hosts, the Metaphysical Moms, Tiffanie and Carrie. JoyRide takes you on a spin through all things spiritual and soulful, including holistic healing, energy work, and personal development. Now, here are your hosts, Tiffanie and Carrie.
Hello, good morning to our JoyRider family. Mwah.
Hello, good morning.
I'm Tiffanie.
I'm Carrie.
And we're the Metaphysical Moms. Thank you for joining us on show number
99.
99 shows on the wall. We are going to have a 100th show party. It won't be next Tuesday. I'll be traveling and out of town, but we are scheduling soon a 100th show party, and we want you to come because we're going to have surprise guests and gifts, and we're planning it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Oh my gosh, 100.
I know. You know, I sit back and I think about, I bet Bobby could shed light on this. We were just like, and then I think I may have seen a ghost. Oh gosh, we have said that. You know, and now we're like, okay, so then the aliens flew in, and it's really kind of fun.
So we will keep you posted. So we want you to join us on our 100th show party. But thank you for being with us on this ride. This has been quite a ride.
It has been quite a joyride.
It has been. I wouldn't want to do it with anybody but you.
I wouldn't either. That makes me, okay, I'm so hormonal. I will cry. I just cried passing an old couple in the lobby.
She's like, how old are you? Or not how old are you? How long have you been married?
Are y'all married? Yeah, and they were
like
just so sweet.
years.
They were just chatting, and she was talking. He was like, really? She said that? And they were just going back and forth, and it's like, I want to be like that. 48 years.
48 years.
That's older than me.
Sweet.
They got married in 1970. How's that for math? Well, we have a show for you today.
It's a tea time. It's Carrie and I.
And the guides, because we really do have a lot that we would love to share, and it's funny because we both did you bring your library?
I did. I brought a bunch of books.
Yeah, and so we sort of just ended up on the exact same page.
Well, and the page was sort of how to raise your vibe. Like, how do you raise your vibe when you're in the midst of family conflict or financial trouble or stress, or you've had a lot of stuff happen to you, and you're like, how do you raise your vibe? So we wanted to talk about things that we've gone through, things that we've learned.
So what I do is I get a glass of wine, and then I sit with a big bag of chocolate. No, I'm kidding. I don't. I used to do that. I don't anymore. They always tell you that works, and it doesn't. You just feel fat and hungover. So,
well, it might make you feel okay temporarily, but it never makes me feel as good as I think it's going to make me feel.
True. That's true. I had hot flashes last night because I did have a little bit of wine. But I sat outside in the hammock, and it was so nice. And
anyway,
it was beautiful
outside last night. So today is an interactive show. We want to talk to you guys. We want to find out how you guys raise your vibes, things that you've gone through, things that you've overcome, and finding the blessings and all of that stuff that we go through.
Well, I think that's it right there. I think that when you flip it around and you realize that it is not, oh my God, this happened. You know what, this happened, and what's so great about this is that it was the course change that I needed to get me where I really needed to go. And we've talked about that a lot, but I laughed because I called Tiff and I said, you know, it's like you're wearing shoes that are 2 sizes too small, and you've been wearing these shoes forever, and you know they hurt, and you know why they hurt, but it never occurs to you that all you have to do is take them off. You know, you have the power to take them off. And so
we get comfortably uncomfortable.
We do get,
don't we? We really get comfortably uncomfortable.
What's the song? Oh, that's Comfortably Numb. But it is, yes. And so I think that seeing the patterns, I think that's a lot of it. Let's just jump in.
Let's jump in. Well, first we want to say hi to our friends who are joining us on our Facebook Live show, or if you're joining us later on podcast or on our YouTube show. We really appreciate you being part of our family. Be sure to like, subscribe, share this with other people on the journey, because we're all in this together. There's no one size fits all. Everybody's influence affects everybody else, and we can all learn from each other, either what not to do or maybe how to try something, how to do something.
See, that's what's so wonderful about you and Nora and Wendy and, I mean, all of our girlfriends and everybody really, is that you can call and say, man, how am I not seeing this? What's going on here? And, you know, you're not uncomfortable. You don't sit and go, yeah, that person's a jerk. You can say, well, yeah, no, I totally get it, but what about this? And that's really nice to have that other alternative. It's like, I'm with you, honey, and I know this sucks, but
could you look at it this way? Could you feel about it this way? Yeah, that
and every now and then I do it with her too. I know I always say, I mean, I am.
Oh, she totally does. Like we call each other.
No, I'm not. I'm saying that because it's like, which you are pretty stable. I mean, you're like steady Eddie, but in a great way.
Do you say? I feel like I've got the hormones and the mood swings.
The moans.
And,
Well, okay, so
But overall, let's say hi to everybody. So hi to Jennifer and Michelle, Margaret. Hi Denise. Hi Birdie, Peggy, Milan, JJ, Jane. Hi Sarah Kajawa. Sarah. Jose or Josie. Josie or Jose? Jose.
I think it's Jose.
Jose? Mm-hmm. Thank you for joining us on our JoyRide today. So how to raise your vibe. So this got me thinking because last week you did an interview with our dear friend Emma, Emmanuel McIntosh in Belgium. She's a fabulous medium. And you interviewed through Emma Neil Armstrong, an afterlife interview.
Yep.
Fabulous interview. Check it out on YouTube. We posted the link on the JoyRide Facebook page. It's a great interview. And it's he did amazing things to further humans' understanding of space and travel and flight. I mean, he really pushed the boundaries on so many levels. Mm-hmm. And he said, that's kind of my mission. I came in to do that.
Right.
But one of the big things that he really emphasized several times was he was able to maintain, in these times of crisis, when things were not going well or there was, you're really stressed to the physical limit, he was able to maintain his emotional composure. Mm-hmm. Time stopped. Mm-hmm. His angels and guides slowed down time and was able to let him use his critical brain, rational thinking, intuitive guidance and get himself out in many, many ways.
Yes, and that is something, and that goes back to, I once spoke with this man that was a pro athlete, and he said that there is something that happens, and I've seen this, that they hit this area, and this is what I kept thinking during the show. It's like you hit this, like you're going for the free throw, and all of a sudden they just look like they're very slowly tossing it in. And there is this interesting time stop. And yes, and he did have that. And I think that they train them so well that this could happen, that could happen, this could happen, that he just would almost go into this
like a zone
meditation.
A meditation.
And just like everything else would go away, and he would just look at what it is, what do I need, and where do I go. So most of us, we go, what are we going to do? We freeze up. Or
fear floods us.
Well, sure. And he didn't have
and
that.
then you respond. So that really got me thinking about how to change your state, how to change your emotional state. And you guys know I do EFT and tapping, so I'm constantly being aware of my emotional state. And when I suddenly become aware that I'm in a crappy one, or I'm bitchy or negative or scared, guilty, you name it, how do I shift out of that? So yeah, this happens, I'm here, but how do I shift out of it? So, and another thing,
are you talking about the dog?
What?
Never mind, go ahead. About Rascal. Leaving Rascal out, being in that meditative state.
God.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll come back to that because I did. Long story. Another part of the Neil interview, he confirmed that when he switched over to the medical channel and he said, they're here, they're parked right over here, and they're watching us, he was referring to aliens, being able to watch them. So he was confirming that there are other extraterrestrial species very interested in what we're doing here. They're just watching. They're not interacting, at least he didn't with him. But they're observing us. They're kind of like, what are you guys doing? How do you do this? And from everybody that we've talked to in our spiritual world, they are really watching us to see how we are maturing and evolving and expanding our consciousness.
Yes, they are. Okay, where do you want to go with that?
Well, that it is up to us to expand and raise our consciousness. And what does that look like? Where do you go from there? How do you do it? Like we all say, well, if they would quit fighting, then the world will be a better place. But where are you fighting? Where are you having trouble with your family or yourself and fighting your body and your money? What did you write?
I have a lot to say about this.
So this is all coming in because we have been asking, what's the next step here for us personally, for our Joy Tribe, for our families, and how can we help to remind you and to cheer you on and to give you some tips and tricks and how to raise your vibe, because it is a personal thing. You change within, you change without.
Well, it is. Okay, so there are a couple of, I think, things that I believe play into this too. I believe that the earth is, she herself, she's expanding and she's ascending. And so people that are not, I don't like it when I can't talk, that are not frequency specific, they're not going with her, and so they're kind of hopping off or they're doing something else. So on one hand, you have that happening, and you have all this other stuff starting to come to light, whether it's our government or it's the, sex scandals, and there's all of these different things. And but I think we've been so programmed and so freaking brainwashed for the last 100 years that we don't even know. That once you pull out of that matrix and you really start seeing how we are so, I was just telling Tiff that it's like you watch things and they say, oh, cancer, you're going to get cancer, and for this cancer, and for that cancer, and for cancer, and then this, and oh my gosh, let's make cancer history, and let's hit cancer. And it's like, oh, I'm supposed to get cancer? I'm getting cancer? Really? Okay. And
No.
I talked to my neighbor next door last night, lovely human, and she said, oh my God, there's so many people your age that have cancer. And it's like, not me, man.
Well, and I said, but what a great wake-up call that might be for those people.
Yeah.
And I'm not wishing cancer on anybody or downplaying what a struggle it is to go through. I get it. But it's a huge wake-up call for a lot of people to have a medical crisis, because you got to look at what you're thinking, what you're eating, how you're...
Well, if you choose to do that, but if you watch TV and if you're plugged into that matrix, man...
The fear matrix.
It is, you need this drug and that drug and this drug and that drug. And that is what, I think catalyst, that's what pushed me into it, was like, oh my God, I guess I'm going to get sick. It's inevitable. The shoe's going to drop. We'll end up, living alone in an old folks home because whatever. But all of that is fear-based. And I think when you unplug from that, and you unplug from the news, and you unplug from all the shit that's out there, that you're already going up and you're not missing anything. Have you noticed that? It's like watching the first quarter of the basketball game. Does not determine the outcome at all, really, basketball, unless you just really love it. You don't really have to watch it until the last 2 minutes.
The Rockets did not win last night.
Yeah. I'm not spitting. Anyway, so Charles, I'm sure, would laugh at that, because he's like, you don't really watch basketball. I watch the last 2 minutes, or I'm in bed. But anyway, so I think that part of what you say is right, but I think that you have to go beyond the how. I think you're like 3 steps ahead, because I think that realizing that, man, there's got to be more to this, and then this fear and doom and nuclear this and nuclear that. How long we used to go under our desks and prepare for the nuclear bomb. Number one, what the hell's that going to do? My little, veneer desk. And number two, that was 40 years ago. Hadn't happened yet. And so it's all fear. It's posturing. And we're being played, suckers. We are.
Okay, but we watched, yes, I hear you. We watched, it was a PBS Memorial Day. We just had Memorial Day here in the U.S. yesterday. And we watched this PBS tribute special. And they kind of went through all the different wars and honoring the veterans and soldiers and who had lost their lives. But it really gave me the 30,000-foot view. They were talking about how in World War I, 65 million people died. In World War II, 85 million people died. Million. That was 70-something years ago. 85 million people died.
Population control. Sorry.
No, it makes me think of the aliens. Okay, so we talk about our children all the time. We have boys, and at some point, you let them figure it out. You have to let them kind of handle their disputes on their own, and that's how they learn. That's how they grow. They see consequences. And at some point, we've talked about this, like no, I'm going to let them just duke it out. They've got to learn. And then at some point, you kind of hear the escalation, right? You're like, okay, we need to go in there and intervene and kind of...
I heard the knife drawer open.
Yeah, you got to break it up a little bit. So I feel like that's how, because we keep saying maybe the aliens will come and help us and save us.
They're not going to save us.
They're watching us to see how we're behaving. And okay, 7 years ago, we just killed 85 million of us. Do we value the sanctity of life? Are we fighting? Are we being territorial over these arbitrary borders? They're not. They're watching us to evolve from within. They want us to mature and figure it out.
But you have to get out of the tar pit in order to do that. And I think that, and I'm not making excuses. It's just that I think that when you sit and you realize, if you're buying into the game, and if you're rah rah rah, I hate Trump and they're doing, and it's not that I'm a huge Trump fan, but in you're in this and that, you're buying into it, and I think that it's, you have to pull out of that to realize. I don't know. I just feel very strongly that there are so many other things at play. You know, like people have so many agendas.
There's a lot of agendas. So just talking about this, I can feel my vibration getting smaller and tighter.
Contracting, isn't it?
Because it's like, ooh.
Okay.
What I have to do, go ahead.
Okay. No.
Go.
No. You're in the middle of a tough.
I keep popping up to this 30,000 foot view. That's how I maintain my sanity, and I can stay here in this human world is by keep popping up to the 30,000 foot view and saying, oh, it's all a game. Are you going up?
Yeah, I'm trying to go up.
That's how you raise your vibes. You literally raise up your vibes. So that we can see it. And yes, we signed up to come here. Yes, we signed up to have all this contrast. And I do hope that if we could see, we are evolving. So we see the war numbers going up. But if we could see the amount of medicine and nutrition and, you know, babies that are saved, if we could see, that would be going up exponentially too. So it's not just the bad that we're focusing on here. But, and we do need the contrast. I get it. We need the contrast. But I just believe it's up to us personally to raise our individual vibration, and how do you handle your own conflicts will be mirrored in the world.
No, I agree, and I think that's beautiful. And that is something that, it's funny because when we had Patrick DeHaan on, Zeb, who is who he channels, and they're out in our, so there are in our reality, out in our outer atmospheres, and I hope Seth's not listening, who was at NASA, and he's like, no. Anyway, there is this, who? Anyway, I'll tell you later. And so there are these, they sit and they watch, and they said that it's like they're just sitting there eating their peanuts while they're watching us, and it's like, oh my God, that happened in France. What are they going to do? You know, it's like we're like the best reality show, and they actually like to be here so they can see it real time, which cracks me up. So I do believe, and I do know that they have seen the different timelines, and they know where we're going for the most part. I mean, there are always variables.
We talk about they, but we are all that.
Well, we are all that, but they're seeing it from a different perspective because they're not in it. It's like watching your kids play a game versus being in the game. But okay, so here I like to not, and I know that's not what you're doing. This is the most evolved human being next to me. I'm so lucky. No, you are. Whatever. So
whatever.
But I am always the seeker. Why? So there are two things that have happened to me. I had a beautiful weekend, but it was like, some of it was like self-created sandpaper on a sunburn, and on the inside. And so it was funny because I was sitting there, and of course I got less and less sleep, which makes it worse, and I was just soapboxing all weekend. You know, it's like, well, this is the way I feel about this, and this is why, you know, and I didn't want to hear anybody else. And so I asked my guides last week for shadow work. I said, I want to just dive in, and I just want to see it, and I want to know why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I want to know. And it's like, oh God, I did ask for that.
I asked for that.
I'm sorry, everybody around me. But then the other thing is Laura Eisenhower, who is phenomenal. Oh my gosh. And she's just no woo. She's just all, okay, gotta go, bye. I mean,
so she's going to be a guest on the show soon.
I have to ask her, but yeah.
She will be a guest.
We're
manifesting that.
Oh, we are so manifesting that. But she does so many things. So we were part of, not a part of, but we attended
Teresa,
her
Janus's
conference. And her conference, and it was amazing. And I hear my guide say astrology, and I'm not into astrology at all. And astrology, and I think I even told you, it's like I would love to do astrology with a twist, like with something. And she does this heart-centered, and it is phenomenal. And she will read you, and she is just spot on. And she's like, look, I'm really not trying to blow smoke up your skirt. She's like, I don't just say the good things, and so I like to hear when things are good, but it is. But she was saying that Uranus and Taurus have come together, and I'm probably not saying that right, and it's all about truth. And we just entered this phase, and it is about truth. And so there are some truths that we don't necessarily want to see, or we don't necessarily aren't really comfortable. But what happens when when two people have their own truth, and it's at
different
odds.
Truths.
Yeah. And so what do you do? And that's where I think that this is the great segue into power versus force, about we were talking about truths, and I being from the South and being a good girl, it was always important to be a good girl, and which means you go along to get along. and that if I really didn't have that much of an opinion, I'll just go with it. And I've always surrounded myself with really strong women, really strong people that I respect, and so it's like, yeah, you make the decision. Well, all of a sudden, that's not okay, but then I have to see the pattern, and it's like, what's going on here? What's really going on here? Because sometimes things can be done really well. If you, how do I say that? That's not what I meant to say. It's like if you rock along and there's you're doing something to make someone else happy, and you really don't want to do it, then kind of that breaking away or that shifting can be tough.
Yeah.
And because people don't like it, but I think that there's a way that that change can be done and felt and reconstructed in a way that everybody's respectful and kind. I mean, you and I can be at odds
sometimes,
but we're kind and respectful. Because I really want to know how you feel. Because I have an end goal. And my end goal with everyone I love is that we're in a good place. And so if I'm sitting there hurling, you're an asshole, then how's that ever in a good place? I mean, you do damage. And so, but if it's, I don't...
My feelings really got hurt when you didn't do that or something.
Right. And anyway, so I think that's part of it. But power versus force, I think, is such an interesting thing.
Many of y'all will know what we're talking about. Dr. David Hawkins... His book, Power versus Force, he's written several, but this one, he is an MD, he's a PhD, he's a scientist, he's a researcher, he's a very spiritual, ascended, great guy. He's really interesting. Even Wayne Dyer says, this is the most important and significant book I've read in the past 10 years. So Power versus Force, he calls it the hidden determinants of human behavior. And oh my gosh, it's like I wish I could just boil this down and condense it to everybody.
Because just put it in my head.
Just download it, because he talks about how there's a scale. He's mapped the scale of human consciousness, okay? And this is a little chart. I don't think y'all are going to be able to see all the details, but I'll post this on the JoyRide Show website this afternoon. And this is a map of the scale of human emotions. So if you were to put shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, pride, courage, neutrality, willingness, acceptance, reason, joy, love, peace, and enlightenment. The emotions and feelings of shame, guilt, apathy, grief, and fear are very contracted. And boy, when we were just talking about all that other stuff, I felt that feeling. It's a very contracted feeling. But when you start getting up in here into willingness, acceptance, reason, love, joy, peace, and enlightenment, it's a very expanded state of consciousness. So when you talk about raising your vibes, it's literally where on this scale do you want to live? We all experience all of this from time to time, but what is your sort of set point?
I have something to say about that, because I know that a pattern that I have seen in myself is that if I'm mad at Mr. Patino. Hi, by the way. I will justify my anger by creating a story, whether it's a story from before or it's one because I want to validate and I want to sit in that, because it really does. Sometimes it just feels good to be down in it. It doesn't really, it's like gossip where you really want to hear it, but then you really feel icky about it. And so I think that the shame and the guilt, that those are the stories. And when you walk into those stories, number one, when you clear them and you let them go, then you can create stories from this place of I'm the architect, and this is the story I want. I want one that's, I want love, I want kindness, I want fun, and as opposed to, oh my gosh, do you know what that person did to me? And I can't believe, and I don't like them, and 10 years from now, I still don't like them. Why? Why don't you know? And so that it's seeing the story. It's recognizing that you're in that lower vibe. Then you see the story. And you
that's the huge step. And that's not just the first step. It's like the quantum first step is even being aware that you are in it. So when you said, let me see the shadow work, and all of a sudden you have all this and you're like, oh, this is it.
Goodness.
That is a huge first step. And I think most people who are joining us on our show are of like mind, that you are interested in seeing this, seeing the truth.
And how can I shift?
And what am I doing to put my part into this? And so first step is just being aware that you are doing it. So that's what I was saying. I constantly am like, where's my state? How do I feel? Where's my mind kind of taking? Because whatever state you're in, your mind will generate all the evidence it needs to support that.
Yes.
And if I'm pissed, and then I see pissed people everywhere. But if I change my state, to joy or acceptance, then I start seeing joyful people everywhere too. It's all there
Isn't that weird?
all the time,
It's a frequency.
and whatever state you're in is what you will see.
Oh, tell the tuning fork. We haven't talked about that in a long time.
Well, okay, so if you have a set of tuning forks, you know, the ones that you see that you can tune a piano, and they're tuned to a key, a frequency of G, C, A, B.
That's not you.
Somebody's phone's ringing.
I think it's outside.
If you have a tuning fork set to, say, a C, and I ding mine, and mine's vibrating in a C, if Carrie has a C, hers will vibrate. She will feel the vibrations. It will attune to it. So if she's holding a G, my C won't resonate with her. She won't feel it at all. The vibrations won't be picked up. So if you feel it, you've got it. If you spot it, you've got it. If you see it. Now, you can see something and just say, I see your anger. But if it's triggering your anger, that's yours.
Well, and I always loved this idea that you could have a crowd of people hand out all these different tuning forks and then hit one, and then that note will vibrate out there. So that's just a different way of saying it.
I forgot I have my husband's phone because he left it at home, and that's what's ringing. Sorry.
That's
if that
funny.
rings again, you can turn it off.
Bobby's like, all right,
It's
fine.
like, where's that phone? So, first step is understanding that if you feel it, you've got it, and not to lay all this judgment on it. It's to understand, maybe I got this. We all have it, but not to respond from it, to actually do the internal work to clear it up, to live above it. So anyway,
Transmute it.
Transmute. Okay, so I'm going into power versus force here. Go ahead.
So another way it is to hop to the end. You know, just go to the end. Let's say you're fighting with, I don't know, whoever, and you go to the end. What do you want? What do you want that outcome to be? Cut them off and say, I'm done? Or, I mean, you still have to keep your side of the road clean because you will bump into them and you'll leave that icky feeling. Or do you want it to be one of neutrality at least? I mean, that's huge. And so you help create that and cultivate that. Anyway.
Okay, I want everybody to go read this. And you can Google Power versus Force by David Hawkins, and you can see it as a free PDF online. It's so important, guys, because he talks about the different energy fields of different emotions. So everything is energy. Einstein's taught us that. And some things are intangible. You can't measure love. I can't pour it in a cup and measure it and test it and tell you the elements of it, but we all know it exists. So we're talking about intangibles, but have an energy frequency. We can't detect microwaves with our human faculties here, but we've now invented tools that can measure. But our body responds to and understands and can measure these emotions. We all feel them within our bodies. And our bodies respond if something is harmful, or I'm going to say negative in air quotes because nothing's evil or wrong or bad, but if it's that contracted lower energies, your body will feel it as tightness and you want to pull away from it. If it feels positive or nourishing, your body will move towards it. And they've actually done studies in petri dishes where Bruce Lipton has done this, where they'll put cells in a petri dish and they'll put something that is a toxin, and the cells will literally move away from it. Or they'll put something in there that's nutritious for the cells, and the cells will actually move towards it. So this gets now jump forward, and if you apply that to the applied kinesiology, so muscle testing, people who do sway tests, pendulums, you can use your body's energy field. It's almost like it has this intuitive energy understanding of what is good for it and what is bad for it, what it wants, what it doesn't want. So you can use, and so David Hawkins, using kinesiology, is able to sort of test where things live on this scale of consciousness. Is it a low vibrating, destructive, contracting thing, or is it a high vibrating unity and expansive? So it's a really interesting read. And once you understand, you can do this for yourself with muscle testing. You can stand and say, is this supplement what my body wants? And you'll get a no, or you'll get a yes, or you'll get a neutral.
You should see her at the grocery store. She's over there swaying.
I can sway and sway. So now I can just hold it and kind of get the feeling of, yes, I want this, no, I don't, or not right now. Anyway, what really is an eye-opener for me, and if we have time, I want to kind of go into a couple of these, because these energy levels really show you that when you are living from an energy of, okay, so say shame, for example, is the energy level of 20. It's perilously proximate to death because you feel like you're losing face, you feel like a non-person, you hang your head, shine away, banishment. So any early life experience that led to shame can really warp the personality for a lifetime unless you resolve this feeling of shame. And Freud describes it as like a neurosis, and it affects your psychological health, your emotional, your physical health, makes you prone to development of physical illness. It's a tool of cruelty, and then often the victims become cruel themselves. So somebody who's got this energy of shame pulls the whole personality down, and it makes you vulnerable to other negative emotions.
So that's why that's the lowest one.
And then you will act from that. If you if you are holding this energy of shame, you will act from it and be cruel, not because you're a cruel person, but you're holding this energy of shame. The good news is you can move yourself up. The next one up is guilt. And there's so much guilt in this. A lot of religions really, we're going to keep you in guilt, or parents use guilt to keep you in line, to control you. We're going to use guilt. But that comes with all of these, it results in a preoccupation with sin, being forgiven, being unforgiven. The next energy level is apathy, and that's a level of poverty, despair, and hopelessness. The world looks bleak without the will to live. It's a level of homelessness, and it drains your resources. So these are they all exist, but you don't have to live in these energy states. There's nothing wrong with being them. If you came in as a human to experience that level of energy, that's fine. But if you have the awareness, you can move out of that energy level.
So do you think that, I know that we bounce back and forth, but do you think that we primarily live in a certain...
different countries, and he's ranked lots of different countries, and obviously they change, but different countries or areas or religions or subcultures all have their own frequency.
Mm-hmm. And that's why people are attracted to it.
Yeah, you're like, that's my tribe. I feel attracted to that tribe. And you may even not know why, but that's the energy that you're carrying. So yes, obviously it changes as people evolve, but there are pockets of the world that are very low vibrating, and then pockets that are high vibrating.
So I wonder what the highest is.
Well, the highest is enlightenment. So
no, like Norway? Sweden, Switzerland?
I'm sure it changes. He has a website. I'm sure it's davidhawkins.com. I didn't even check that out to see what his website is. But you can muscle test. He muscle tested to kind of get this energetic vibration by tapping into the collective conscious and saying, what's the vibration of, you could say, this new job that I want to go to, this new company, what's the vibe of the company, the average vibe of it? And you can kind of feel, does that resonate with me? Or a book that you want to read, or a food that you want to taste. What's the vibe of it? And is it something that's going to pull me to it and nourish me, or is it something that I want to move away from? Okay, the next level is apathy. The next one is grief. Grief is sadness, loss, and dependency. And major losses early in life make one vulnerable to passive acceptance of grief. And it seems like you see sadness anywhere. And I had a lot of trauma as a young person, and I feel like I carry this level of grief. Like I just see that sadness and I want to end suffering. It just feels so hard. Or past lives, or I've had a lot of grief. So the next one's fear. Fear can be very valuable. A fear of danger is healthy. But fear can also limit you, or it can help you grow. Mm-hmm. So you kind of have a setting. I could just want to read this to everybody.
She wants to read it. I think you should put it out on audio.
Okay. Fear, anger, pride. Even pride means I'm better than you. My judgment is better than you. A lot of the militaries all run on pride. Not downplaying anybody in the military, but it's very much run on my country's better than yours, or my university is better than yours. There's a lot of pride involved.
That's a division thing.
It's still very judgmental. Mm-hmm. Still a lot of judgment. Okay, so then we can move up to courage, neutrality, willingness, and acceptance. And there's all these major transitions that happen at each energy level. And so when you say raise your vibes, like what does that mean? Where are you going? My personal journey is to live as high up on this scale of consciousness as I can. So if I move up to willingness, acceptance, reason, love, joy, and peace, I'd love to hang out here. And Christy Marie Sheldon, she has Love and Above. And she's an intuitive psychic healer, teacher. And so I think her website's loveandabove.com. she tries to teach people this is where all the magic happens. Up here, when you live from love, that's literally when the universe is like a concierge to you saying, turn left. Your guides are like, sign here. Yes to this, no to this. You know, we talked to Joelle, and she was saying how she has her guides just guiding her left, right, here, nope, don't. And she said it felt so freeing because she just felt safe and in control and totally hands off the wheel. What a different state of being.
That is a different state of being. I think that is wonderful. Okay, so what does it say about the top two?
Okay, enlightenment and peace. So, okay, let me get back to the page. Hold on a second. Okay. What are you signing over there? Okay. So peace, this energy field is associated with experience designed by such terms as transcendence, self-realization, God consciousness. It's extremely rare, attained by only 1 in 10 million people. Now, this book was probably written in the
It was when things were still very dense.
So maybe we'll up that number now, I'm assuming. When the state is reached, the distinctions between subject and object disappear. There's no specific focal point of perception. So we'll put Jesus and Muhammad and Buddha. We'll put these guys in a state of enlightenment. The observer dissolves into the landscapes and everything equally becomes observed. Then the energy levels of enlightenment, this is the level of the great ones of history who originated the spiritual patterns that countless people have followed throughout the ages. And powerful inspiration. So that's actually where he says we'll put Lord Krishna, Lord Buddha, Lord Jesus Christ in here. Like these great onenesses. So,
you know, I think with that, I think that it has become much thinner. I think that the veil has, and I think that it is a lot more, I don't know if that's the word to say that. You can access that a lot easier. And I do know, and I've experienced this through, 2 or 3 different folks, that there are new energies that are being imprinted on our planet.
Yes.
That were not here before. And when that happens, it's not just you have to keep reaching for it. It's already here. And so you can embody that and bring that in. I don't know where all this is coming from, but it's true. But it's true.
So we took our kids to one of these mystery rooms, not panic rooms, but they're like a mystery room. You have to go in and you just see all this stuff and you have to figure out the puzzle in a certain amount of time. And I have a bunch of 13-year-old boys in there and they're all trying to figure stuff out. And the lady's over the loudspeaker. And she's like, if you get stuck, because they're watching us with camera, if you get stuck, raise your hands and turn in a circle, and I'll give you a clue. So I feel that's how our guides are. When we get, like, we're all in this stuff and we can't figure it out, you just got to raise your hands, turn in a circle, and say, okay, give me a clue, I'm stuck. And this new energy that's coming to Earth now is here to go, don't eat that. It's bringing your vibe down, or turn off the TV, or get out in nature, or do some yoga, or take a nap and eat better. You'll feel better.
Do you know what's funny about that?
What?
I was actually thinking about this today. So I'm not really affected by food. I'm not. I mean, there are so many things that do affect me. This affects me. And it's not even the news. It's just like I sit and I start playing these puzzles and my eyes do this.
I feel like my energy is draining out of my eyes.
I think it is. I think it's just, wouldn't it be funny? Wouldn't it be like an interesting movie to do? And so those are the things that affect me. The TV, games, like video games, gossip. I don't like that. But food, I don't think really affects me. I mean, maybe if I sat and ate cheeseburgers all day, but I'm
pretty clean.
I'm okay, but I need meat. Like, you don't need meat.
I don't want it anymore.
I need it. I don't want a lot of it, but I do need it. So we're talking about like what raises our vibe. I just unbuttoned my button. I'm like, what?
Boom, boom, boom.
No. And so it is. So I just think that's interesting. Can we talk about James's clearing?
Yes.
All right. So I do not know the difference. I'll just be upfront about that. There are people that say, "Ooh, that's not my energy. I don't know what that is." Every now and then, I mean, my default is always hormones. But so James Gilliland has this incredible clearing that he does, and I did it the other day just to do it. I was called to do it, and what I love about it is how I need my eyes because I can't see, and we need to do something about that too. So this is the clearing. Okay, first you call upon your chosen representatives of the source. So that means Jesus, angels, Michael, whoever speaks to you. Number 2, ask that your aura be cleaned. closed to all but your guides or the ascended, like the Christ vibration, if that's who speaks to you. Tell any, you read it, you're better, here, right there. Tell any of the, I love this, and I'll tell you why I love this.
Okay, step 1. Okay, step 2. Ask that your aura be closed to all but your angelic guide or ascended master of the Christ vibration. Step 3. Tell any discarnate spirits that they are healed and forgiven, lifted and enlightened.
You say that 3 times.
Repeat several times until it feels clear. Step 4.
No, but think about that. That you're not just saying, "Ooh, this is gross, get it off." You're saying you're healed.
You're
Go.
loved. Yeah.
Because
go
they
to the
say
light.
They say that people, that discarnate souls, that they kind of hang around because they weren't really happy, and they're looking to either perpetuate naughtiness or they're trying to heal. So you're saying, man, you're healed, enlightened, with Jesus there with you. Go ahead.
Okay, step 4. Tell them they are filled and surrounded by the universal Christ light and the Christ love. And this, I think, is old patterns in us too, old family dynamics, old energies that are in us. Whether I even call it an entity, but it's just that vibration of that old stuff. Let that go too. Okay, step 5. Ask your chosen angelic guide or ascended master to take them to their perfect place. Number 6. Ask that all negative thought forms, limiting mental concepts be dissolved in the light of truth and all psychic bonds be severed. That's what I was meaning. Number 7. Ask that all auras be closed to all but their own higher selves and that all residual energies be cleansed away from every level of your being. That's so nice.
Isn't
Okay,
that cool?
so this is from eseti.org, and this is James Gilliland's. You could do that just in your mind throughout the day while you're driving. You could do that in front of a meditation. You don't close your eyes while you're driving, but you know what I mean. You could just constantly do that. So I'll also add this to the JoyRideShow.com webpage when I do that today, so that you can have that. And I will put my scale of consciousness on there. This is from Christy Marie Sheldon's Love and Above website. But you know the good news is?
Tell us the good news.
You know the good news? Okay, you know this, everybody's seen this, the Fibonacci spiral, the sequence. You see it in nature all the time in sunflowers and shells and how leaves sprout out. Every step you take, it's not just a 1 + 1 = 2. It's 1 + 2 = 3. 2 + 3 = 5. It's the Fibonacci sequence is the first 2 numbers added together. So it expands exponentially bigger every time. So it's not just a tiny step, a tiny step, a tiny step. It's a step. And pretty soon there are these quantum leaps that you hear about. So raising your vibration and clearing some of these old patterns, whether through muscle testing or tapping's my thing, clearing these old patterns out and raising yourself up that scale, it's exponentially getting more and more and more expansive. And it goes up and down your timeline.
Okay, yeah. The guides did show me that day that they were showing me all the different timelines, and they did say that you have to ask in order for them to hop in. Not always, but usually. And they said that when you heal, and especially if you heal the old patterns and the old ancestral lines, that it heals forward and backward, which I think is really cool. And so, okay, so here's my question to you. I'm really into the whys. Are you playing footsies with me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm into the
Our
whys.
shoes are off.
I know they are. My feet are cold. So are yours. I'm into the whys. Like, why? You're not. So can you just like bypass the whys and go say, I just want to raise my vibration?
I think on some things you will know the whys, and some things you're never going to grasp the why of it.
But if you're asking the question, then I think you can. Because I think that it is, I mean, for me personally, because it is, for me, I have to make sense of it, and I have to know. And sometimes I don't want to know once I know, but then I've always said that it's like you rip off the Band-Aid, you lance it, and then you clean it out, and then it's gone, instead of just putting stuff on top of it. But that's the way my brain works. Does your brain work like that?
So, like Abraham Hicks, love Esther and Jerry and Abraham, and they are constantly going to reach for the better feeling thought, reach for the better feeling thought. Don't spend any time looking at the negative.
I don't agree with that.
And I've heard her say, okay, in some circumstances, if you can't reach that better feeling thought and the negative just keeps perpetuating, you got to address the negative. Not to dwell on it and justify it and bitch about it, but to say, okay, what is this and why? So, yes, keep reaching for the better feeling thought, raising your vibration, positive affirmations. But sometimes, yes, I do believe why. Why is this here?
Shadow work. That's shadow work. So
shadow work.
So according to her, you're not supposed to do shadow work? You
I
were
think
molested, but don't go there.
I think people get stuck in that. So they're saying you don't have to go here. You can just keep positivating your you can, but I think there's a blend here. I think
so there's this belief that we were told in the 60s, they came up with this idea, and they being, the CIA did the MK Ultra, and they were really exploring, our government was really exploring, I think it started in the 50s, and they were exploring all of these different mind control things, spies, compartmentalizing, trigger words, LSD, all this different stuff. And I think they were just really intrigued by it. And then when they got busted, they tried to destroy all the evidence. But there were a couple of things that came out, and a lot of people came out, and some people died, and because they overdid it, and they were not willing participants oftentimes. And anyway, so that's the stage. And, they also brought the scientists from Nazis, and they folded them in, and a lot of this stuff, anyway, really kind of creepy, but they were saying that was part of that, which is like kind of getting people to, it's like, no, let's not look at the negative. Let's not look at the negative. Because, how do you call people out that are doing heinous things if we're not looking at the negative? I'm not talking about Esther, and, I'm not talking about that. And I'm just saying, in general, this idea of not looking at the negative that gives people a lot of freedom. And I get that if it's, part of that I understand, but I got to look at the negative. I don't like looking at it, and I don't like staying there, and I feel gross, and then I have to kind of go cleanse myself. But at the same time, if you're doing bad shit, you need to be called out, period. And you need to stop doing what you're doing. And if not, you're going down. You just are. Sorry. See, I'm soapboxing. This is how I was all weekend. I think I'm to the head. But seriously, if people are doing bad things, hurting people, they need to go down. They need to go away. And I think we have spent so much time not looking at it, and it's been done behind closed doors that nobody knew except for the people that were hurt.
There's a lot of new voices coming out in many different ways saying enough is enough. So I think this is the new energies that are coming to Earth are saying time, evolve, speak up. That is no longer the paradigm that we're willing to accept anymore. So that is raising our consciousness and our vibration. I do believe. And it's a little messy. It's messy. It's all messy here on Earth.
So Jesus told me once, because I was really kind of doing a lot of exploring in a lot of different places. I like reading things and looking at things. It was like a rabbit trail. He's like, okay, so here's the thing. You are swimming in it. You are not made that way. Get out. You're getting slimed by this negative energy, and we will tell you 3 times. 3 times. If there's something you need to know, we will tell you 3 times. Carrie, if there's something you need to know, you will see it in 3 different places. And he's like, did you see what I did there? I told you 3 times. But it was that, okay, you know about it. Now keep moving. Now bring it to the light. Don't dwell. So I think, but I have a friend that is so powerful, and she is, actually I know a few folks like this. She is, she's a warrior, and she is in that space, and she is doing the work, and I applaud her, because that's not, I'm in the light where she can go in the dark and battle the dark. I don't want to do that. So,
yeah. Well, we all have our ways of engaging with this life, and
what we came for.
And some of this was really enlightening to me. The Michael Newton, and in his books, Journey of Souls, Destiny of Souls, he's got a lot of different souls. I think I've got one of his Memories of the Afterlife. I brought one of his books. He does a lot of past life regressions. And in regression, he takes people back through past lives and then up into their spirit life after, to talk about why did they do what they did, what did they learn, what do they want to do this life to sometimes offset the other end of the spectrum from this life. And he talks about how some people have to come in and learn to step up and speak their truth and establish their boundaries. And I think there's a lot of that happening right now. And some other people who have been doing that for many lifetimes, they have to learn self-restraint. They have to learn acceptance. They have to learn to be quiet and not assert themselves and be so dominant over everybody and so forceful over everybody. So it depends on the personality whether or not it's time for you to speak up and speak your truth and soapbox, or sit back and listen and incorporate. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't sit back, listen, and incorporate.
So this might be your life to set up, to really assert who you are and not be afraid to be powerful. And other people, and that's what I was saying, from these past life interviews, they're like, I've always been such a dominant person. This life was all about me being quieter and introspective and allowing everybody to have their say. So it just depends on every person and
Yeah.
they're this incarnation as to why they're here and what they need to be doing. So just follow that feeling within you. Okay, so I want to talk to some of our people who are here and see.
I also want to know real quick before we do that, because I think that will take the rest of the time. My guides have given me, last week we were talking about money and about being okay to have money and the spiritual disconnect between having and trying to walk the path, and how where that came from. So my guide said, hey, we can show you that. And they walked me through, and they gave me these questions, and they kept saying, like, go in deeper and figure this out. And they actually walked me back to why I look at it the way I do, what I really think about it, and they showed me my blocks. And if anybody's interested, I'm happy to put that up.
Yes.
Questions. So, okay, that's it.
Okay, so these are what I wanted to engage with you guys, our family, our Joy Tribe family, is say what tools have helped you raise your vibration? There's a million different books and websites and seminars and conferences and shows.
I was just laughing because we have all the different books. I mean, like, I don't have these books.
I know, so just share. What we're doing is just sharing, because I don't think it's one size fits all for anybody. And
But
a
it's all
piece
ends
of
up at the
this,
same place.
yeah, a piece of this might work, a piece of that might work for a certain time in your life. So I'm going to share a couple of mine, and then y'all tell us what some of your tools are so that we can share it with our tribe. So Awakening the Healing Energy Through the Tao with Montauk Chia. He teaches you all about your personal energy and how to cultivate your own internal life force with exercises and healing sounds and different ways that you do drain energy. And he's got a visual in here somewhere of when you're watching TV or internet, and literally the energy is just draining out of your eyes. So sometimes I do get into that state, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can just see the energy draining out of my eyes. But he teaches you how to move the energy through your body in this microcosmic orbit, and you can stop the aging process. You can become invisible and transcend. You can leave your body. You know those monks that sit and meditate, and then they just their bodies don't decompose because they're just sitting there in that meditative form.
And they found him in that cave.
Yeah, there's many examples of people who transcend the physical and they don't die. It's like their body has this different energy. So this was a huge physical thing for to do. Yeah, it's really cool. What are some of these other ones?
I have hundreds of books, and I am like...
Course of Miracles talks about making that shift from fear to love and how to do it. It's a huge, big, fat book. It takes a year to go through. It's a 365-day course, and there's a whole text. There's a teaching section in here for manual for teachers. This has been my Bible. It was written by Helen. It was transcribed by Helen Schuckman, but Jesus transcribed it to her. So to me, it's the Bible without all of the parables and the stories and all that dogma. It's like the how-to manual. Okay, I want to say.
Okay, so those aren't my books. So my books, I started out reading Cryon, Yogananda. His were just beautiful, and were so follow your path, and you have a direct line to God. And but I've now reached a point. It's not that every now and then I find a book that I love, but I pretty much just go straight to it and ask.
Yeah.
And because no matter what, all of these are still through somebody else's, and I think that the energies are just different now.
Totally.
And you have access to
but
the
in the
same
beginning,
information. Dolores Cannon instead of
I've got
Michael Newton.
400 books at
Isn't
home.
that crazy?
So literally, I just grabbed the first 4 or 5 that kind of grabbed my eye. But
I did have the energy of money.
This
that
was
might
a
have
good
been
one.
mine.
This was a great one. The Energy of Money.
I haven't read it though.
Maria Nemeth. A spiritual guide to financial and personal fulfillment. It really is. It asks all those questions to help you see what are your patterns about money. It's a great book. I've got so many, but I want to check in with everybody and see shadow work. Julia is saying shadow work is important. Releasing the high vibrational. After releasing then high vibrational books, music, dancing, walking in nature to raise vibrations. Yes.
What website did you get the chart from?
I will post it on the JoyRideShow.com. Trisha Kelly saying there's no right and right, and no need to do anything but observe. Beautiful. You're already so high vibrating.
But
my dear.
I like to do more than observe.
Oh, this is my dad. John Palmer is saying Brandon Bay's The Journey. Yes, we've been talking about that. I know Byron Katie's, her work, Esther Hicks. I love Bashar, Cryon.
Jennifer, you're right. I love Bashar.
The Emotional Code by Bradley Nelson. Thank you, Tammy. Just going back through. These are all tools that you can use. I'm also rereading Opening to Channel, which is my guides keep saying no more books.
I know, it's true.
No more books.
Ask them to ask them to give you the lessons.
Just give it to me, just in a personal download.
Yeah, seriously.
But in the beginning, when I was just waking up to this, I loved reading. I was in a research mode, and I loved reading the potentials, the stories of people's transformation, like what's possible. Yeah. That just like it opened the door so I could walk in. I didn't even know there were doors I could walk through. So I needed the books in the beginning.
But I did too. That's why I have so many. That's why you have them, and they just speak to you. But I think another thing though is that it is. What I find fascinating is like we have friends and we have this little tribe and we have this group and we all kind of are in the same general vein. And some of the folks that we started with went on their own journey, and it's funny how things don't cross. Like I can talk to someone like, yeah, I've never heard of Dolores Cannon. It's like, how? And or Cryon. I've never heard of Cryon. It's like, really? And then they'll bring up a name and it's like, I don't know who that is. And so it's interesting how, but it's a
frequency thing.
What's it's wherever you're.
Eckhart Tolle, of course. Anything about Eckhart Tolle?
Stuff either.
And then if you have health issues, there's so much out there for intuitive guidance on your health. I love Anthony William, his book, The Medical Medium: Secrets Behind really Chronic and Mystery Illnesses and How to Finally Heal. There's so much in here that's amazing. This was something of Monkeys and Dragons. Michelle Longo O'Donnell, Freedom from the Tyranny of Disease, and this was all about. It's a revelation about escaping disease. Oh my gosh!
You know what? I wonder something. I wonder if we didn't read anything, we didn't watch anything, and for like 1 month, every day we went in
and meditated.
No, well, not really meditated. I don't really do that, but you do. But like we went in and we let the guides guide us, like for 1 month, like nothing external, only internal. I think we should do that.
Let's do it. Who wants to do that with us? Who wants to do a 30-day internal guidance?
Okay, so external, commitment. I guess, would be you can kind of tune in to us if you want, or maybe after 30 days. But that might be really fun, and just to see what we come up with and how, because that connection, I always look at that connection, and it kind of has like some grease on it, and it has a little clogs here and a little clogs there. But then once you start to run things through that connection, it becomes clearer and stronger, and it's a muscle, and that's what they always say.
So a lot of people are saying they don't want me to read, they want me to go in. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Marcy, do I have to quit my job? No, you don't have
to
quit your job. But you might realize after 30 days of internal guidance that there's another job or another calling. Do
you want to quit your job?
Do you want to quit your job? That's great. Hi, Birdie. She's saying that we helped reopen the door. Thanks. I even channeled last week. We want to hear. This is our friend in New Braunfels that we love so much. Karina's going to do a 30-day challenge with us.
Birdie. Okay. Emma is calling you. I think. Anyway, Emma's calling you. So.
Oh, this has been so fun.
Okay, 30-day challenge.
Okay, so
I'm going to set that up.
We will not be here next Tuesday because I'm actually traveling. So we are scheduling a 100th show. Today's our 99th show. So we're scheduling a 100th show party in the next week or so. Next couple of weeks, we'll schedule it. So look on our Facebook post. It won't be next Tuesday.
We'll run an ad for it.
Yeah. And we're going to have some giveaways. We'll have some surprise guests. And we just want to celebrate this journey that we're on. It's kind of
be fun.
Marking a milestone for us.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And we love our family. Thank you everybody who's just been on this journey with us, whether you're brand new or whether you've been with us for a while. We just really appreciate you. We love interacting in the comments and suggestions. And
yeah, it's really cool. And getting to know people. I mean, that's always been the fun thing. I mean, like truly some people will write or call, and we love chatting. So, all right.
Marcy's saying you left a career of 12 years and you're trying to figure out what's next. Working a job I hate. There's some lessons here for you and some guidance, and I'm holding the space for you that you're going to walk into the next beautiful thing. Try the energy of money, because when you work, you're exchanging your
or
time.
Not and go to the guides. Quit hawking the books. She doesn't get paid for it.
I don't, but they've been a big help for me. Okay. On that note, we will leave. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for our tea time today. It's Tiffany
and Carrie,
Metaphysical Moms, having another spin around the metaphysical block. And thank you for joining us.
All right, guys. We'll see you later.
Have a lovely week. We'll see you at the party.
Yeah.
Bye.
Doodles.